Sophie Cunningham has clearly taken Raven Johnson under her wing. Raven Johnson in practice, you see Raven Johnson and them kikiing and ha-haing and talking quite often. You see them on the bench kikiing and ha-haing and talking quite often. Sophie Cunningham's tight with Clark, so you see the three of them often. Sophie, Caitlin, and Lexi are tight, so you see the floor of them often. I think Sophie Cunningham knows what she's doing.
Watch that body language carefully. Sophie Cunningham has clearly taken Raven Johnson under her wing. You see them in practice kikiing and talking. You see them on the bench during games. And now you're seeing Raven Johnson call Caitlin Clark the GOAT on camera. That's not an accident. That's veteran leadership doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And if you think this happened organically without Sophie's fingerprints all over it, you haven't been paying attention to how the Indiana Fever has completely transformed its locker room culture in less than 2 months.
Comes out, calls Caitlin Clark the GOAT. Let's take a look. The GOAT right there. Now, the GOAT, like, she's the best ever? I think so. The GOAT, like, the best ever? Is this just a teammate hyping up another teammate? Sure. It could be either of those things. It could be both of those things.
The GOAT. Not just great, not just talented, the best ever. Those are Raven Johnson's exact words about Caitlin Clark. The same Raven Johnson who spent the last 2 years under Dawn Staley at South Carolina, where the culture was decidedly different when it came to discussing certain players. And the moment that clip hit social media, the attacks started rolling in. Sellout, coon, on the plantation now. The comments were vicious and immediate, but here's what makes this fascinating. Raven Johnson didn't back down. She doubled down on Instagram with the same message. The GOAT. She knew exactly what was coming and she posted it anyway. That takes either courage or calculation, and I'm starting to think it's both.
Seeing the names, Raven, don't piss me off, this, that, slavish, the Leches put that belt on her back, damn, Get Out, they got Raven already, I like that movie, Get Out. And then you have, you know, she's a slave now. I feel they all got to kiss up to CC just to stay on that team because it's not even close to the GOAT. And then you have the section that's saying she's playing chess, not checkers. She's playing chess, not checkers. LML Raven is playing in these people's faces, and I love.
Look at those comments. They reveal something crucial about the pressure these players face. One section calling her a slave for complimenting a teammate. Another section saying she's playing chess, not checkers, manipulating the Caitlin Clark fanbase to sell her own shoes. And buried in there, people saying she's just being a good teammate and hyping up the best player on her squad. 3 completely different interpretations of the exact same 15-second clip. That's the environment Raven Johnson walked into when she got drafted to Indiana. Every word analyzed, every gesture scrutinized, every social media post turned into evidence for someone's narrative.
Number 1, she actually thinks Caitlin Clark's the GOAT. Number 2, she thinks this is a person just hyping up her teammate and she just let it slip. That's the word that came out of her mouth. That's the word that came out of her mouth. Number 3, you have Raven Johnson now off of the Dawn Staley victimhood juice. The victimhood locker room of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Raven Johnson is now free from those shackles, since we don't want to use the slave analogy. She's free from that mindset. She doesn't walk it through every day now with the same message that you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim. She's away from Dawn Staley. I mean, and if you saw the way that she played on Saturday, you didn't really see that Raven Johnson appear too often at Dawn Staley, South Carolina, pushing the pace like she was. You don't see that very often. So she's away from the Dawn Staley.
So let's talk about what could actually be happening here, because I think there are multiple layers to this situation and they're not mutually exclusive. First possibility, she genuinely thinks Caitlin Clark is the GOAT. She's been practicing with her for weeks now. She's seen the work ethic up close. She's watched how Clark approaches the game. Maybe she's just stating what she believes. Second possibility, this is standard teammate hype that slipped out naturally. Athletes compliment each other all the time. The word GOAT gets thrown around constantly in sports. Maybe there's no deeper meaning. Third possibility, and this is where it gets interesting, Raven Johnson is off the Dawn Staley victimhood program. She's no longer walking into practice every day hearing that same message on repeat. You're a victim, you're oppressed, you're under attack. She's free from that daily indoctrination, and maybe we're watching her mindset shift in real time. Fourth, her and Cece actually get along. Revolutionary concept, I know, but what if they just genuinely like each other as teammates and people?
4, her and Cece got along. 5, this is kind of where I'm leaning a little bit. Sophie Cunningham is stepping in and saying, hey, the cameras are going to be in front of your face. The cameras are going to be following you around everywhere. You don't need to necessarily play nice, but let's not catch you sulking. Let's not catch you miserable. Let's not catch you happy. You got to buy in. You got to be bought in. I think Sophie Cunningham is responsible for a lot of this. A lot of the kumbayaing that we're now seeing on the Indiana Fever sideline. I think that's Sophie Cunningham. I think that's Sophie Cunningham's veteran leadership, veteran presence.
But here's the fifth possibility, and this is the one I'm leaning toward. Sophie Cunningham sat Raven Johnson down and had a very specific conversation. Something like this. The cameras are going to follow you everywhere. You're going to be on social media constantly. You don't have to be fake, but you need to understand the reality of this situation. Buy in or get buried by the noise. Let's keep the locker room tight and the outside chaos at bay. Because Sophie Cunningham is the blueprint for how to capitalize on the Caitlin Clark effect. Last season, she stuck up for Clark on the court. She played her role perfectly. She said the right things in interviews, and her fan base exploded. Her jersey sales went up. Her social media engagement skyrocketed. She turned being a good teammate into a personal brand boost, and she did it authentically. Now she's bringing that same veteran leadership to Indiana, and I think we're watching her teach Raven Johnson the exact same playbook.
Because I got shoes coming out too. I'm gonna need to sell my shoes. Now I'm not ready to place my bet in either one of these scenarios. Right? Is it the fact that she thinks Caitlin Clark's the GOAT? I'm not ready to go there yet. Is it that she's off the Dawn Staley plantation and she's freed from the victim mindset and she's maybe getting back to who she was prior to Dawn Staley? That's possible. I mean, how much can a person really change in 2 months? So that's a question. But it is possible. It is very well possible. And then you have the Sophie Cunningham dynamic. Sophie Cunningham is the blueprint of how to cash in best, how to capitalize on the CC effect best with how she went down last year. You say nice things about Caitlin Clark. You stick up for her on the court. You play your ass off. You're gonna get the support. You're gonna get the fan. You're gonna get the fan love.
And here's what would really convince me that this transformation is genuine. Actions speak louder than words, right? So imagine this scenario. First game against the Chicago Sky. Chennedy Carter, Caitlin Clark's arch nemesis, starts getting physical. Maybe a hard screen, maybe some trash talk. Maybe she's backing into Clark a little too aggressively, and then Raven Johnson steps in, gets right in Chennedy's face. You're not doing that to my teammate. Not on my watch. That's the Sophie Cunningham blueprint playing out in real time. That's when I'll know for sure that Raven Johnson isn't just saying the right things for the cameras. She's actually bought into this culture, because words only go so far. Calling someone the GOAT in a 15-second Instagram clip is easy. Stepping in front of a hard foul when things get heated, that's when you find out who's really committed to the team and who's just playing the game for social media optics.
Just say the first time we go up against the Chicago Sky. J.C. Sheldon, Caitlin Clark's arch nemesis. The arch nemesis, J.C. Sheldon. Dejanay. What if Raven Johnson's like, all right, this is what Sophie did. Let me show him what I got. Let me show him what I could do. Hey, you're getting in the wrong person's face. You're pushing the wrong person down. You're smacking the wrong person in the head. You're poking the wrong person in the eye. That would be something now, huh? Now, that would be something, now, wouldn't it?
Now, I want to be clear about something. I'm not doing backflips yet over Raven Johnson. I don't have short-term memory loss about what was said 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago during the draft process and the immediate aftermath. The criticism of her selection was valid. The concerns about fit were legitimate. The questions about whether Indiana made the right choice were worth asking. But I'm also not going to punish the players for a decision the front office made. Raven Johnson didn't draft herself. She didn't force Indiana's hand. She showed up to the team she was assigned to, and now she's navigating an incredibly complex situation with cameras on her constantly and social media ready to attack her from every angle no matter what she does.
Shout out to Sophie Cunningham. I think that veteran leadership is going a long way, especially in this situation, because I really don't see anybody else in the locker room stepping up like that, trying to bring everybody together. Kelsey Mitchell's there just to hoop. AB is a nice lady. Sophie, I see, hey, everybody get over here. Everybody get over here. We're about to go out on a night on the town. I see Sophie Cunningham doing that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video, hype the video, subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. See you next time, and as always.
And this is where Sophie Cunningham's veteran presence becomes absolutely critical. Because look at the rest of that locker room. Kelsey Mitchell is there to hoop. She's a professional. She does her job. But she's not the one organizing team dinners or pulling rookies aside for mentorship conversations. Aaliyah Boston is a genuinely nice person, but she's still young herself and figuring out her own role as a leader. Sophie Cunningham is the one saying, hey, everybody, get over here. We're going out tonight. We're bonding as a team. We're presenting a united front. She's the one creating that culture intentionally and deliberately. And that matters more than people realize. Because here's the reality of professional sports. Talent wins games, but culture wins championships. You can have the most skilled roster in the league, but if your locker room is divided, if players aren't communicating, if there's tension between teammates, that dysfunction will show up on the court eventually. Indiana learned that lesson the hard way in previous seasons. Sophie Cunningham is trying to make sure it doesn't happen again. She's building bridges between players who come from different backgrounds, different college programs, different perspectives on the league. She's creating an environment where Raven Johnson feels comfortable enough to publicly call Caitlin Clark the GOAT without worrying about internal backlash. That's not just good teammate behavior. That's elite veteran leadership. That's understanding the assignment and executing it at the highest level. And the fact that we're seeing results this quickly, with Raven Johnson already integrating herself into the team's social fabric and making these kinds of public statements, tells me that Sophie's approach is working. Now, I still want to see the on-court proof. I want to see Raven Johnson's defensive intensity when they face teams that have been physical with Clark. I want to see her willingness to set hard screens, to communicate on switches, to do the dirty work that doesn't show up in the box score but makes a massive difference in winning basketball games. But the early signs are encouraging. The body language and practice footage looks good. The social media interactions seem genuine rather than forced. The public statements are consistently supportive. And most importantly, there doesn't appear to be any behind-the-scenes drama or tension leaking out to reporters. Sophie Cunningham deserves a ton of credit for that. She's managing a delicate situation with skill and intentionality. She's protecting the locker room culture while helping younger players navigate the intense media scrutiny that comes with playing alongside the biggest star in women's basketball. She's doing it without seeking credit or attention for herself. She's just quietly leading by example and pulling people together. And if Raven Johnson continues on this trajectory, if she keeps buying into the team culture and supporting her teammates publicly and privately, then the criticism of her draft selection is going to fade pretty quickly. Because at the end of the day, fit matters more than draft position. Chemistry matters more than where you were projected to go. And if Sophie Cunningham can help Raven Johnson become a positive contributor to this team's success, then everyone wins. So I'm watching this situation closely. I'm not ready to declare victory yet, but I'm also not going to ignore the progress that's clearly happening. Raven Johnson calling Caitlin Clark the GOAT might seem like a small moment, but it represents something bigger. It represents a player choosing to embrace her situation rather than resist it. It represents veteran leadership, creating the space for that choice to happen, and it represents a franchise that's finally starting to build the kind of culture that championship teams require. The question now is whether this momentum continues, whether Raven Johnson backs up these words with actions on the court, whether Sophie Cunningham's leadership continues to bring this group together as the season progresses and the pressure intensifies. Whether the Indiana Fever can turn this improved chemistry into actual wins when the games start counting. But for now, I'm acknowledging what's unfolding in front of us. Sophie Cunningham is running a masterclass in veteran leadership. Raven Johnson is making the right moves publicly and seems to be genuinely buying in. And the Indiana Fever locker room appears to be in a much healthier place than many people expected after a controversial draft. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Raven Johnson's transformation is genuine or calculated? Is Sophie Cunningham the key to Indiana's culture change? And what would it take for you to fully believe that this team has turned the corner? Drop your perspective below, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.